Hello friends, this is Pamela from Too Few Acres. I wanted to show you an update on the garden and how well it's doing. I'm actually quite amazed on how good it's doing this year. Last year I had a lot of problems because it was really dry out. But this year it has been raining a lot and I'm happy about it. Because one, I don't have to go out and water the garden every day, twice a day in the summer. And two, my grass is green. That makes me happy. So right here is green bean. And it's producing really well. I did plant a lot of green beans, so that way I can put them up. They seem just all producing. Now I went ahead and started them early, so that way they would produce and then the plants would die off, and then I would replant some more, and I would get 2 or 3 sessions where I harvest my green beans. Right back here, this thing right here is a loofah, and it's gripping onto the fencing like we were hoping, and hopefully I get a bunch of loofahs. But it took a while for it to get to this point, but once it grabbed onto the fence, it seemed like overnight it grew a lot. So I'm really happy with that. And you got some watermelons, and this is a watermelon. Green beans right here. And all that stuff that looks like grass is actually scallions. It's hard to see because they're really fine. But those are scallions. This one right here is a pumpkin. More green beans. And then we have bell peppers right here. And I am tying the pumpkin and letting it grow up over the trellis, so that way, and I will use stockings so that way I can make like a hammock for the pumpkins. This right here is more green beans, and you can see them, they're producing. Those are wax beans, I believe. Now the yellow is from overwatering, and it's not me that's overwatering, it's actually Mother Nature. So I'm just letting Mother Nature do its thing. And I'm sure once the summer, comes into full swing, it'll start going into the dry season, and then they'll kind of clear up. But the yellowing is mainly from overwatering, and that's caused by the weather. I mean, we get rain quite a bit. And then when we do get rain, we get quite a bit of rain. And then we have onions. And I can turn these into scallions by harvesting them now, or I can leave them go and let them turn into full-blown onions, and that's what I'm gonna do. Down here is a cucumber that's finally coming back, and I'll have that winding around this fence. At least that's the plan. Over here is a lot of green beans, and you can see the yellowing, and again, they're starting to green up. But that is from the overwatering, and Mother Nature's doing the watering, so I can't stop it. But the green beans are just producing like crazy. Not so much on this bed, but this bed is got a lot of green beans. But you can see the green beans, and then I got some that are climbing. I have some beans here that are climbing. Then I have some carrots, and then some Swiss chard, and then I have yellow peppers right here, the little ones. Lots of green beans. And I'm trying the dragon's tongue beans. They look like that. And then I have some over here. And let's see. This is my salad area and green beans. But I do have green beans on this side, in the back right here. I have one loofah right there, but the rest of it is green beans and spinach, lettuce. So, I mean, they're doing really good. And I believe this is radishes. Yes, it is. Those are radishes. I've already harvested a bunch of radishes, fixing to plant some more. And then I have leeks in the back. Those are leeks. Right there. And they'll get bigger and just really do some good stuff. But I mean, the package said leeks, and so that's what I planted. And we'll see. We'll see if they were right. I got it from Amazon in a little itty bitty clear package, and it said leeks on it. So we'll see. It's been kind of, you know, hit and miss with buying on Amazon and then getting seeds from people, and they're in the like little itty bitty tiny Ziploc bag type deal, and something you would put like little earrings or something in, and they have a bunch of seeds in it. Well, sometimes they don't turn out to be what they're supposed to be, or you get a bunch of seeds and they don't germinate. So I'm having a really hard time with going through Amazon for any kind of seed. So I would be careful with that. I would just go ahead and go like through Burpee, or go to Lowe's or Home Depot, even Walmart, and, you know, Dollar Tree, and get your seeds that way. This is one of my pepper plants. I believe it's my habanero. And then I have tomatoes, little cherry tomatoes. You can see they get bunches on them. And this is the tomato plant. I just had the base, and then I just let the stems re-come back, and that's what it filled out. And now it's producing like crazy. This right here, friends, sorry about that. That's a neighbor's dog. It's a puppy, and I think it's being taught to be able to be on a leash. So we just ignore it and move on. So this right here is a volunteer tomato plant that was in my garden up front, and I had a sun gold tomato up there, a big old huge plant. Literally took over my whole flower bed. I didn't expect it to do that because I've never grown one of those before. Or they wanted like $34 for 4 sun gold start plants. They were live plants. They wanted $34 for them. I'm not going to pay $34 for 4 tomato plants when I only need 1 tomato plant, to be honest, because that will produce a lot. You know, and so 4 would have been just way too much. So I'm not going to spend $34 anyways on a plant unless it's something that I'm going to keep all year round for several years. So I took it out of the ground up front, and we used Black Cow, topsoil, and Miracle Grow, and mix it all together. And then I have the stuff that I get for tomato plants, and it gives it acidic in the soil. And I added that to it, and then I planted it up and watered it really good, and it's looking good. So we do hope that it is a sun gold. Cross your fingers. Let's hope. This is my herb garden. I went vertical on this so that way I didn't have to worry about getting an area for these. And this is turning out really good. Here's another tomato plant that it's a volunteer, and it was out by the road. So I don't know if it's a sun gold or not, but we did the same thing we did for the other one. We used Black Cow, topsoil, and Miracle Grow, and then we dug this up and we planted it, and then we added a bunch of water to it. I watered it like 3-4 times. I wanted to make sure it was good and moist, and it's doing really well. So hopefully it's a sun gold too. Now if it's 2 sun golds, we're going to have a lot of sun gold tomatoes. My husband will not mind because he loves it. He will come out here and just pick cherry tomatoes off the vine and eat them all the time. So I never add chemicals to my vegetables anyways, but because of what he does, that is a definite. No chemicals at all added to my vegetables. Here is a jalapeno, and this one's pretty interesting, and I'll show you. It's half black, half green. Isn't that neat? Leave in the comments and tell me if you've seen something like that before. That's pretty interesting. First time I've ever seen something like that. So leave a comment and tell me if you've ever seen something that's half black, half green jalapeno. It's pretty cool looking. This is my blueberries. They're doing really well. This is my yellow jubilee. Got a lot of flowers on it. It's actually producing tomatoes. You can see over here, all over the place. And I started these all out really early. It was pretty cold out. I think at night it would get into the 40s. But the greenhouse that I have, it works great. Put a heater in it and voila. Daytimes were perfect, night times were not, so you turn the heater on and then you close it up and they were good all night. And I have a jalapeno right here. And again, they're doing great in a bucket. Tomatoes doing great in a bucket. I got a bunch of tomatoes. These are cherry tomatoes. Those are cherry tomatoes. And again, they're doing great in a bucket. Now I do add this white powdery stuff for tomatoes and vegetables. It's called Dr. Grow, I think. And I'll leave a picture here for what I use for the tomato plants. But they absolutely love it, and they are growing like mad. I always have to make sure that they're not growing into my neighbor's side, so I have to just kind of train them. Make sure that they're not going over there. But if they do, it's no biggie. This is my fence, for one, and number two, I can walk around the other side and harvest if I have to. Here's a habanero, and it's doing really well. Again, buckets. They're doing really good in buckets. This is a jalapeno, doing really good in a bucket. This is a habanero, and they're doing really good in the bucket. No, that's a jalapeno. This is a habanero, and you can see they're starting to produce, and they're doing really good in a bucket. I find that tomatoes and peppers love buckets. Plus, you can move the buckets around. So if they're not getting enough sunlight, you can relocate them. Like this. The tomato plants were hindering the light for them, so I moved them out front. And also down there, that vertical stand right there was hindering some of the blueberries and stuff, so I had to move them out as well, that blueberry. That way, buckets you can just kind of relocate, move them around in your yard, whatever you need to do in order for them to get anywhere from 8 to 12 hours of sun. Here's another habanero. It's doing really well. It just was a really slow grower, but now it's starting to pick up its pace. Here's the water for the wildlife. You can see it's cleaned. It rained last night. This is the raspberry bush, 3 years old. And my husband, every time he comes outside, he looks at the raspberry bush, looks for raspberries to pick and eat. And he said that he's just truly amazed on how well it's doing. But we're finding that a lot of stuff that we put in the ground, usually it takes about 3 years for it to get established and then actually, do something like this. And if you look back on my other videos, you'll notice last year, these were barely doing anything. And now they're really doing something. These are my potatoes. And once these die off, because I've got the dirt as tall as I can't go any higher, but once these die off, we'll dump them out and get the potatoes out, and then I'm going to replant and do more potatoes. But these is an interesting little story. The containers, my husband thought they were grow bags, and we got them home. I didn't pay attention. And I read the little tag on it, and it said portable trash containers. So, they're not grow bags, but it works. You can see that they're doing really well. And we just put a hole in the bottom. My husband burnt the hole in the bottom, so that way it would seal it. Where it was burnt, it would seal. So that way it wouldn't tear apart. And we just put dirt in it and put our slips. We got our slips from Lowe's. And we put 5 in this one and 5 in this one. And you can see they're doing great. And once they die off, we'll dump them on a tarp. And we'll get all our potatoes out. And then we'll put more slips in. And voila, we'll just continue to do it. This is our newest, which is our rhubarb. We have a fence around it. We're going to put more of a permanent fence around it. Something that looks a little more aesthetically pleasing. It's poisonous to dogs, cats. You don't eat the leaves on these at all. You break the leaves off, dispose of them. And so this is a gift that's going to keep on giving because it'll come back every year. So we are going to put a fence around it, a permanent fence. That way the dogs can't get in there. This is our okra, and it needs to be de-weeded, I know. But we were waiting for the okra to get big enough so we knew what was okra and what was weeds. And we'll get into it this week and clean it all up. And then, of course, maintain it. But it's okra, and, they're slow growers, but I'm going to try and see what I can do with it. And then right here is ground cherry. They're ground cherries, and I have one here, and I have one there. Ground cherries are yummy, but once they fall onto the ground, you have to get them right away, or you end up with a rotted cherry, ground cherry. So that is my garden for 2024. It's real simple. I have Back to Eden, which is where the okra is. And then I have buckets. And you can do buckets anywhere. You can do it on a small patio, on your, deck. You can do it in your yard. You can do it anywhere, even in your driveway. You can do buckets. You can do raised beds. You notice that my raised beds don't take up a lot of space. Not really. So, save yourself some money. Grow yourself your own food. And if you eat a lot of salads, just do lettuce and spinach and radishes and carrots and just simple little things. But once you establish your garden, it's just real easy keeping up on it. And in the spring and fall, you only water it once a day. In the heat of the summer, you water it twice, once in the morning and once in the evening. Now in the morning, I don't water on the leaves at all in the morning, because you don't want the leaves to be wet and then the sun glaring down on top of them, because it will burn your leaves. But what I do is I water down by the soil only, and then in the evening, that's when I don't worry about the leaves getting wet, because the sun's not glaring on top of them, and then you're not worrying about the leaves burning. But it's just that simple. I mean, if you got a bucket, I think 2 buckets took me and Donnie, which is a friend of mine, 20 minutes, and that was mixing 3 different bags of soil, which was the Miracle Grow, the Black Cow, and the topsoil. And we mixed it all together, and then we put the stuff in for the tomatoes, which I had showed you back on, a little bit earlier in the video. And then we filled the buckets up, and then put our plants in, watered it 3 times. I watered it 3 times because I wanted to make sure that they were definitely good and moist. Now there is holes in the bottom of the bucket. My husband Gene, he drilled 5 holes in the bottom of the bucket. That way we have good drainage, and that way no stagnant water stays in and you don't get root rot. Okay, friends. Well, this is the update on my vegetable garden. And you can see they're doing really well. Some of them are a little overwatered, but that's Mother Nature doing its thing, and I'm not complaining because I don't have to come out here and spend 20-30 minutes watering my whole yard. So that makes me happy, and I absolutely love this that my husband had put up. Donnie helped him. It's beautiful. It's easy to walk on. The raised beds were cheap. I think it cost my husband $260 for all the raised beds. And then most of the raised beds we dug out of my compost pile, and we added, I think, only like 2 bags of, I think we did 1 bag each of Miracle Grow to mix in with the compost, and that was it. But if not, it would have took like 5 or 6 bags per bed or more. And so we did save a lot of money. I think my husband said we saved between $400 and $600 just digging out of the compost, the pile, the dirt, and that's how we did it. And then he added the stone, and underneath the stone we have the weed barrier put down, and everything is doing lovely. I couldn't ask for a better garden. I'm actually quite pleased on how everything is it's really just took off. Okay, friends, if you're new here, subscribe and check out the other videos from last year and the year before, and share the videos with other people. Anything that you can do will help my channel. And if you've been here a while, I'm glad you come back, and I'm glad you're still here. Okay, friends, you have a wonderful weekend.